Hi, my name's Callum White. This is Real Estate in Real Life. We're going to be sitting down with some of the industry's top players and finding out what tips and tricks they can give to people within the market. We'll also explore a few other topics. Welcome to the show. Joe, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for inviting me on.
I would like to describe you as probably one of the most passionate young men I've ever met in Dubai real estate. That passion, I've seen it manifested in all different forms.
Of course,
But definitely someone that I think a lot of people should aspire to. For anyone that doesn't know, you're a bit younger than the average agent in Dubai market. You've already accomplished so much. I think this podcast is very important because more and more young people are moving here, and when you moved here, you were already even younger. We'll get into a bit more of exactly what you've accomplished, which is unbelievable. But thank you so much for being here. I guess the first question that I think I always like to ask to separate everyone, what does Joe McWilliams look like growing up? What was that like for you?
Firstly, I think passionate is probably a great way to describe me. Compliment or not, in some senses. I mean, I know I can be over passionate, but I think for me, Joe McWilliams is very much, I would say, I'm loyal. Again, passionate, great way to describe me. But if I'm going to do something, I'm certainly 100% in everything I do. Driven, very, very driven. I would like to say humble. Obviously, whether that's everyone's opinion, I'm not entirely sure. But again, I would like to say humble, and also grounded. I think grounded is a nice word, not only as a whole, but I think staying grounded, especially in where we are in Dubai, probably one of the flashiest and most pretentious places in the world in some senses. Staying grounded is very important. So I try and keep myself grounded. So yeah, as a whole, that was kind of what I would say anyway.
Yes, brilliant. And what does your background look like? Was it always property, or growing up, did you think property is the way? Did the family go into property, or how did it look for you?
Yeah, so I mean, look, I'm probably one out of very few, if not the only one, who has kind of aspired to have any kind of link to property. I mean, don't get me wrong, a lot of my family own properties and their own house, but never so much like portfolios, or investing has never really been a massive thing realistically within my family. It's kind of, I mean, I would say, look, I'm definitely from an aspiring family, but not one that's overly kind of looked at investing or passionate about portfolio building or anything of that nature. So yeah, I mean, my first introduction to property was probably when I was maybe 15, 16, and, you'd watch all the videos online of, people and how to get rich and different bits and pieces. And I think for me, I kind of took a key, which was, if I want to become successful in some way or another, I need to either kind of have a look at maybe stocks or the financial markets, or potentially go into the property route. I would say, look, I'm not the most academic. I can speak, I can communicate, never being the most clever, but very much switched on. So ahead of the curve in some senses, I mean, from a very, very young age, 15, 16, as I say, I was into property. And so I think my first investment was a studio in Liverpool when I was maybe 16, 17. And I remember kind of sat down with the agent, and he, kind of double took and said, how old are you? 16, 17. And I think it's kind of how it is in the modern day. People assume, okay, wealthy family, or, doing something dodgy or whatever it may be. And quite honestly, I position myself out of that kind of zone. I'm very much, I would like to say, self-built in terms of...
So how did you make that money to buy your first property? Your background doing...
Yeah, I mean, funny story. I mean, I've had everyone, it's kind of a running joke with all my friends, how many failed businesses I've had. So I would say maybe 30, 40 failed businesses, to be honest. But at the same time, a lot of those experiences have built me to the person that I am today, and have allowed me to take more risks and be open to risks. So I think originally 14, obviously the obligatory selling anything you can in school, Lucozades, Mars bars, whatever it may be. So selling in school, I was at 14 years of age, I was painting on shoes and selling the shoes. So I had someone from my art class who used to paint the designs on the shoes. I'd pay them a wage, and then we got into a dispute because at 14 she said she was basically working longer than an hour, and I was paying her £5 an hour. So then it become, my margins were kind of slightly decreased. And I mean, I've done everything possible. I've created brands. I've been in the building businesses. I've literally had hundreds of businesses, and a lot failed. I used to charge people for FIFA tournaments on the PlayStation, on Twitter. So I went on Twitter, and someone had enter, and I'd basically do a wager and then take a cut. there was so many ideas that I had, and I think if you ask anyone who knows me, I'm never tired of any ideas. Or
I've known you a little while now, Joe, and I think that something about you, you're definitely entrepreneurial, and it's constantly there's ideas. I think at one point last year you had 5 businesses running, and you were selling property, and you were doing your own portfolio, and it's just fantastic to see. So, Joe, after you've had that upbringing, you've grown up a bit, you've got a nice loving family, and I'm aware of that. What made you want to move to Dubai?
I think it was a hard decision because, as I say, mentioning on family, fantastic foundation. Mum and dad gave me a lot of good instincts, a lot of good morals from the start. So I credit a lot of my success to my upbringing, in the sense, I know a lot of people probably have the stories of, I've come from this or I've come from that. I very much was from a grounded family, by no means rich, but in some ways, very well grounded, good foundations, good morals, good ethics.
Rich in morals, rich in ethics, rich in
and
care.
I think that's a key part there. You don't necessarily have to be financially rich. You can be rich in so many other things. So I was rich in the fact, my mum and dad always supported me. So how I got to Dubai, I was actually playing professional football at Wigan for probably 8-9 years. Started playing football when I was 6 years of age. Massive Liverpool fan. Always grew up as wanting to be Joe the footballer, or everything about me was football. And in the midst of playing football, I was running tons of different businesses. I was watch dealing, I was doing personal shopping, I had my own brand, so many things, anything I could to basically get ahead of the curve. And albeit, yes, I had a fantastic upbringing, my mum and dad were very careful on giving me everything I ever wanted. It was very much like make it for yourself. And I think I'm so thankful for that, because in many ways I've realised the value of actually earning stuff for yourself and working hard for yourself, and that realistically no one is going to give you a handout, and no one in some cases are going to give you a leg up. So I think a lot of my entrepreneurial spirit, a lot of my ideas, my mum and dad were very much blown away as a youngster, because they were like, well, where did this kind of come from? But I would say it was from them, in the sense that my mum and dad both never really had it handed to them as well. Mum very much so.
So you took that spirit and brought it to Dubai, essentially.
So then, again, a couple of things happened. Long story short, I ended up getting scammed massively. I had a bit of a treacherous time over maybe a 2 to 3 month period. I think I lost my nan, my cousin. I'd just been rejected from professional football, basically. A mutual kind of decision. I was very much going through depression. Very, very down at the time. I wasn't really getting selected for football. Had injury after injury. I think I'd done my MCL in football, come back, and within about 2 weeks tore my hamstring. Wasn't getting played, wasn't favoured. And then I kind of had a big identity crisis of the lad who was meant to be Joe the footballer. I essentially realised that, okay, this might not happen now. And so it was a kind of mutual decision, because everyone knew I wasn't happy. I wasn't getting picked playing football. Probably wasn't at the level I could have been. But also that I had to be professional, or League One, Championship, Premier League, whatever it may be. So then I had to kind of face that and come to terms with the fact that, okay, a lifelong dream that you've had, you might not fulfill. So yeah, I mean, at the time, still had ongoing businesses. I'd invested in a property here because I couldn't get a mortgage in the UK. Okay. So through social media, got in touch with a guy who's still out in real estate now. So I thank him again for introducing me to the market. But invested in a place called Emaar Beachfront, which now is crazy. Through the roof. Fortunately, I think I made about £10,000 or £20,000 on that one at like 18, and I thought, wow, that's amazing. And now it's...
If you held it now, it'll be, you made £1 million.
It's like 600k dirham for a one bed, so 600k pound for a one bed. So it's, I mean, look, I bought other things. I bought something in Town Square, and I lived in there for 2 years. So that was very much my introduction to Dubai, is that I seen these payment plans, and as an entrepreneur, or as someone who aspires to be an entrepreneur, I looked at that and thought, wow, what an entrance into property, without having to go through the banks. And I was getting, as a young kid, again, the banks kind of vetted me from when I was 16 to 18, and they were seeing lump sums of 30,000 coming in for a watch, and they're scratching their head thinking, how is an 18-year-old receiving 30,000 and then sending 38,000 out?
The banks aren't built for entrepreneurs,
self-employed.
Especially in the UK.
And then again, I was pretty much hands tied behind my back because the banks in the UK, I was having endless problems. Again, got scammed for probably, I think it was just shy of £100,000, and that put me in a very, very dark place. And on top of that, I dealt with depression, people dying in my family, leaving football, and just then a massive debt. And it was just like, at that time, quite honestly, I was at a point where, and again, probably a tough subject to talk about, but I was very close to probably taking my own life. And look, it was a it was a period in my life which I look back on, and I'm actually very thankful for it, because I think that if I didn't have that, I wouldn't probably have the drive, the grit, the resilience that I have now to face problems and to face objections, especially in real estate. You know how it is.
Joe, I mean, vulnerability from yourself, first of all, I appreciate it, because in all honesty, like, we see each other in the office all the time. We kick about some now and then. But me and you were both very much, we don't really go out, and I know that yourself don't even really drink. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen you drink. Not like that needs to be it, but we see each other, you know, in the office. You're always buzzing about, you're always on the phone, and you know, hearing that sort of stuff, it gives you more of an insight into why you are how you are. So you move here, you get that fresh start. What does the first 6 months to a year look like for you? Because for some people, it's easy. For some people, it's harder. How did it look like for you?
Again, I think I was 19 when I moved over with an ex-partner. Foundations very much there, because we had a 1-bedroom in Town Square. I bought that when I was a young lad, and at the time the payment plans were completely different. I think I bought that on a 25-75 payment plan with 75% over 3 years. So I literally was living in a property with a 25% cash deposit, and essentially I was living in it for free, basically. So yeah, come over, I joined another firm, and that was kind of what I knew at the time. And yeah, it was a little bit daunting, because the market probably wasn't the same as what it is now. I didn't really have anyone here other than the guy who introduced me to the market. We was not very, we was close, but we wasn't exactly best mates. So I kind of come not knowing that much. I'd been to Dubai before, visited with family, but when I was more so a youngster. So again, it was kind of like, I was like a fish out the ocean, didn't know what to do. Was driving me Nissan Sunny for 12 months.
As we all do.
I didn't have, I mean, I think I come with £3,000, and I was oblivious to the fact that I probably needed a lot more than that. And okay, I had properties and different bits and pieces, but I still have businesses ongoing in the UK, so it was all about cash flow. I was receiving 300 quid and then 400 quid was going out. And I think I got to the second day and realised I was taking handover of my property, and then they slapped me with DWAR, they slapped me with service charges, and then I was left with like £350 on my second day of moving to Dubai. And I was scratching my head and thinking, okay, maybe I rushed this a little bit. And then about 4 days after, again, coming back to that kind of entrepreneurial spirit, I was personal shopping. So a lot of people in the UK would know our previous business called the Uni Club, it's all personal shopping. So I went into the Nike outlet, and I was thinking, okay, how do I survive? So I literally said, okay, there was, I think, 6 gilets underpriced or something, just these half jackets, picked them all up. So I literally left myself with £46, put them in a night group chat that I'd set up back home to basically resell. And they all sold out instantly. I made about £20 each. So then I just kept buying and buying and buying. And then I think about 2 weeks after, I had an order about £6,000 of night gilets, of what I would just keep buying and selling every single day. £6,000 on gilets. Bear in mind, I was like rice and beans at the time. But my room, 472 square foot, 1 bed, was just full of night boxes. Shipped them all back home, probably cleared £4,000 or £5,000, and then I was clearing £4,000 or £5,000 a week then for probably the next couple of weeks. And then prices, everyone in the outlet, I walked in, I felt like an absolute lord to walk in, and everyone was like, hi Joseph, and I was just a young lad buying a load of gilets, and again, that got me through that kind of first 6 months. Luckily, managed to do my first deal within my kind of own contacts within, I think, a month. In E-Marcel, 4%. Guy was on the phone. Funny enough, I was actually in the Nike outlet mall at the time, looking at gilets, trying to pick these up, and the guy said, okay, let's go ahead. Loads of objections. Again, I was fresh out the ocean essentially as a young lad, and I didn't really know what I was doing, and then he basically said, yeah, I'll take it. And again, that feeling of getting your first deal over the line was just, I would say, the best feeling in real estate I've had to this day. And I've had much bigger deals, but there's nothing quite like doing your first deal. And
especially by the sounds of it, when your back was against the wall.
1,000,000%.
And one thing I know about you is, to be fair, you perform under pressure. And I love that about you, because pressure makes rubble or diamonds. And you do like the pressure, but I love stories like that. It's brilliant to hear, mate. So Joe, that's your first 6 months, maybe even a little bit less than that, considering you did your first deal within a month. But how's your view changed now? Obviously, you moved to Dubai, you don't know anything, you're a fish out of water. Now, where do you see yourself? How do you position yourself? Like, what's the difference in now to that initial sort of 6 months to a year?
I mean, look, even I'm probably my biggest critic. I would say I've probably got a little bit more complacent, because I'm aware of my abilities and I'm aware of my value as an agent. I think at the start, everyone's hungry. Everyone just wants to I mean, I know for my instinct, it was like, okay, make or break. So I had to stay in the office, I had to be in the office, had to just work relentlessly. And I wasn't afraid to make mistakes because a lot of it was, I could get away with it because I could say, okay, I'm 19. Yeah. So, you know, people ask you questions, but almost it gets you over the line a little bit more because people are like, hang on, this lad's hungry young lad. Yeah. He wants to make something of himself. But I was always so determined to be in somewhat the best or so knowledgeable about my field that I had a burning desire to kind of, I don't want to say reinvent the wheel, but I wanted to kind of find loopholes whilst working hard. So in some ways working smarter. Yeah. So I remember sat down and my old company tried to put me into leasing and I said, no, I'm doing off plan. And they were like, what? Like, who's this 19-year-old kid telling me how to run a business or telling me what he's doing? And I put my foot down and said, I'm doing off plan. I know it. I've got a property here. Let me do off plan. And obviously within a month, first deal was, I think, 4% EMR, maybe 1.7, 1.8 million value. And at that point, it was kind of like, okay, he knows what he's doing. Yeah. Now, again, I can say in terms of tips and tricks, everyone says work hard. I think that's very cliche. That should be a bare minimum requirement for anyone moving over. I think dedicate yourself to knowledge, dedicate yourself to wanting to enhance yourself as an agent, enhance and better yourself as an agent. It's not, I think sometimes people get lost in just work hard, but you can work hard and run round and like a headless chicken, or you can run round working hard, being smart about your business, and then that's when you'll really accumulate the results. So I think, again, you can do your viewings, you can go into your viewings with no knowledge, but go and prepare, then go to your viewing, and then keep doing the running around, preparing, and so, rather than just running around. Because if you run around, you end up hitting a load of walls. And yeah, I did. Like, I think everyone does. Everyone hits walls. But at the same time, I think you need to kind of carry your GPS with you. And I would say, when I say carry your GPS with you, what do I mean? Carry it in a sense, if you do hit a wall, you should know how to get round, or you should know how to navigate those circumstances because you've prepared yourself in those instances. So I think tip to new agents, if I could give one, I mean, again, work hard, very much cliche. That's a given. That should be an absolute given. But be prepared to want to go above and beyond, and be prepared to provide a service, provide knowledge, and provide more than anyone else can by really, really zoning in and focusing on either one, your area, two, what the product is. If you want to deal with investors, then understand what an investor wants, delve into their mindset. If that means going sitting on a podcast, if that means going and meeting someone over a coffee, understand what an investor wants. They want to make money. So you've really, really got to zone in. And I think, again, coming back to the advice, I know I've probably given a few things there, but realistically it is about zoning in on your abilities and just have a burning desire to just want to learn. Yep.
No, listen, I like that, Joe, because the thing is, like, I want this to come from you. It's not to come from me. It's simply this is the importance of sitting down with you guys and other high performers in the market. Like, your brand name, Talal Joe, is known throughout the market. You are the guy when it comes to Talal Gaff, and you wouldn't have that without your knowledge, without your track record, which you've now created, and then you've got confidence because you've got knowledge and a track record. Yeah. So I think the things you're saying, new brokers should definitely be listening to, because that's coming from someone who moved here with £3,000, ended up and at the same time they need to think, like, why would I not listen to this guy? So very interesting. So Joe, obviously there's more people moving to Dubai than ever, which for real estate means there's more people moving to Dubai to do real estate than ever. I think people get very confused with it being a saturated market because it's not saturated with good agents. It's just saturated with people joining the club.
Sure.
What do you think that new agents, you've said what they need to do, what do agents, whether it's new or old, what do agents need to stop doing?
Tough question, because I think it's a topic that I feel is very much controversial, and I know I'm probably not by the book.
You're definitely not. You're a nightmare at times.
1,000,000%, and I know that, believe me. Look, I think there's a few things. I think people need to not create their own narrative, but people need to understand that pushing every product under the sun is not just, it's not going to build longevity in this business. I think for me, one thing that I would like to be able to say, and I would hope that a lot of my clients say, is that I'm honest. It's one thing agreeing and it's one thing selling, but selling a way where you have good intentions. Yeah. And I think learning about these products is one thing, and I put a video out the other day about certain products and certain stuff. I think sometimes objecting to someone saying, I want to buy this, can almost earn your stripes, or it can almost earn some sort of respect. And I think it's easier said than done because, look, I'm 4 years in the market now. I would like to say I've built a decent kind of reputation, built a decent client base, done okay for myself. But I think I've put myself in a position where I can object to clients. I know it's easy to say if you're coming over and you need to make money and, you know, someone says, okay, I want to buy this apartment 500k overpriced. Am I in the right to say don't do it? It's hard. Most people will do it. But I think on a slight controversial kind of senses, don't just dive at doing a deal for the sake of doing a deal if you don't believe in it. I always trust my gut and trust my instinct. And I arm myself and equip myself with enough knowledge to know that in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years time, let's say I'm selling a flip. Do I genuinely believe that's going to be a flip? So I like to put myself in an investor's shoes and say, well, okay, I'm the investor here. This is the return. I've broke the numbers down. Is that actually a valid exit point, or am I just coming up with this fugazi figure that all of a sudden the market's going up 20, 30%, so you're going to exit at this? I need to be able to back it up with facts and figures. So sometimes go against the grain. Not always, because I'm sure there is good products, and don't be too harsh.
Yeah.
But for new brokers, really zone in on that product, find out the product, find out if it is worthwhile. Is it going to be a good family community? Are things going to happen in that community? And sell it with passion and sell it with desire, because I know the minute, especially a year ago now, when I was selling harmonies, or maybe even 2 years ago, you wouldn't even need to listen to my pitch. You could see the way I walked into a room and I was buzzing. Yeah. I just wanted to be on a viewing because I believed in the product I believed so much that you didn't even need to speak to me. You could see the way I was, how presentable I was, how the facts and the figures that I had, how well equipped with knowledge that I was, that people didn't even believe the stuff that I was saying. They believed in me. So, and I got to a point where I would like to say I'm still there, but people necessarily didn't buy the product. They bought the idea and bought what I was offering them.
But it's very not easy, because there's nothing easy about it, but you had a secret tool up your sleeve, which I believe, and you used it very well, not because you tried to do it for sales, but you saw the value in the product, which I don't know exactly how many you've had, but I know you've had a few harmonies you've now bought and sold. I know now we're into Aura as well. Yeah. You've also had Elans. The area that you work in, I am not sure how many you've had, but I believe you've had at least 10 properties into Lal Gaff over the past 3 years, maybe 2 years. So at least when you're doing a viewing, you're literally going to a view and then going, anyway, after this, why don't you come along and see my place and let me show you what I've done. And I think that for any aspiring agent, like if you want to have longevity in this market, I think that wherever you work, especially if it's a place you love working in, you need to be looking at purchasing in those areas. And the proof's in the pudding. Yeah. You're going to go in there every single day and tell people, you should buy this, you should buy this. Yeah. You should really look at that yourself.
And that's it. That's the way I look at it. I always felt arming yourself with the knowledge. And I think, you know, as an investor, if I was trusting someone and he's putting his money where his mouth is, it's a lot easier to trust that person than someone who's just saying, buy this product, I'll collect my commission and see you later. Yeah. Probably not going to hear from me again. So for me, a good benefit or a strong point that I did have was obviously I invested in Talal Ailey, of course. I've kind of reaped the rewards of doing so, but at the same time, I took the risk and I believed in what I was saying, and I still believe now.
And you went wrong.
Well, look, I wasn't wrong, and I'm happy for that. Again, a lot of things have been on my side. The market's gone up. Yes, the product itself, amazing product, amazing community. And again, I can't put it all down to my own knowledge and judging things. I think, again, as I say, we've got some fantastic instruments, should I say, in Dubai, which have helped kind of create that, or create the profit, create the market that we're in. Again, the good thing about Dubai is you get good news every week, and so that kind of helps and adds to the market. So that's pulled us through. But yeah, I mean, look, take that aside, I think Talal definitely still would have gone up. But it definitely helps when you can say, come in and have a cup of tea in my house.
Definitely.
Around the corner.
I mean, that's a slogan right there. Yeah. It helps when you can come in and have a cup of tea at my house. Yeah. Joe, what's been the best day of your real estate career? I know you'd said earlier, like that first deal, there's no feeling like it, but like, is there a day, or is it that? Like, you tell me. Yeah,
I mean, look, that was a surreal feeling. I think that feeling was, to describe the feeling, it's almost relief. It's like, okay, the proof is there now. It's not, you haven't bought in a dream. And as well, I would say there's probably a lot of doubters. I know a lot of people come over and they have the families, and you tell them the figures that people are making and they go, no, they're not. And, you know, I as a lad, as a young lad, I come over and people just, again, assumed wealthy family or whatever else. It wasn't that. It was hard work. And so when you do that and you can actually say, no, I did it for myself, it was, again, it was the fruits of the labour. It was there, and I enjoyed that. I think, look, secondary to that, I've never been really an agent who sold high-end properties. Yeah. Say high-end, it's crazy when we refer to high-end in Dubai as like 5 to 10 million sterling plus. High-end isn't even £2 million here. Yeah. It's crazy. My niche or my kind of area speciality was probably like 3 to 10 million dirham. Yeah. That's kind of what I've always done. So, and something which I kind of had within myself, because, again, not to name drop him, but obviously best mate being obviously Jordan, and I see his deals, and sometimes I'm thinking, I remember one, I think it was 75 million dirham last year, value of a property, one property, so 60 million pounds, something along that. I'm scratching my head thinking, I would have to sell about 24 Elans to do that value. Yeah. So I done, I think, an Elysian about 6 months ago.
I remember it.
And look, it wasn't, I mean, it was good commission. I think it was 2% at the time.
But for you, it was that step up.
But for me, it was like, okay, I can do it. Yeah. And it was kind of a sense of like, it was the first time in real estate where I've probably kind of just took a breath and thought, you know what, well done. And I find it hard to do that with myself. I think naturally, and it's the same with a lot of people, when you want to be the best and you aspire to be the best, it's very hard sometimes to just sit there and go, do you know what, you've done well.
Because the goalposts keep moving. The goal, every time you hit somewhere, you go, oh, might as well move it forward. You don't sit and go, which, like, listen, mate, you deserve that. So that's your best day. We've sold there. Yeah. What's been the hardest day?
I mean, look, these last 3 months, I'll be completely honest, Cal, some of the stuff that I've had to go through have been, like, it could be make or break, in the sense.
Give us a snippet. You don't need to go too deep, but, like, listen, there's people going to be listening to this who are either in the market now and they're looking up to you, or they just want to hear what's went on. Maybe they're nosy, and there's going to be people that want to move here. And the amount of people that from the last set of podcasts I did that have moved to Dubai because of those, you could be a reason for it.
So, again, and I think a lot of times I was actually going to do a video on this and explain, and then I kind of shied away from it because I didn't know what people are kind of think, and I didn't want to come across like bragging or whatever it may be. But I think the start of this year, I rolled into this year pretty much certain I was going to do a Palm Jebel Ali. I had some fantastic inventory in Elysian. So I had an EOI for Palm Jebel Ali. It was nailed on. We was probably 4 months early, and it was a lot of commission.
I know.
I had some almost exclusive inventory. I say almost because, again, fantastic relationship with the sellers. But
it's Dubai.
Yeah, for sure, it's Dubai. But not only that, I think, look, even as a seller, I understand in some ways it's very hard to be exclusive with someone unless you're really, really pally or really friendly. Because ultimately, if I go and bring you the offer as Tom from down the road and say, there's your asking price,
you're not going to turn down £5 million because it's your mate.
For sure. So, look, I had a Palm Jebel Ali where on the launch they didn't get the unit. So, EOI paid, everything was ready, buyer was as ready could be, didn't get the unit. So then again, cancel out whatever that amount of commission is, and we'll talk about figures at the end. Then I had, in the same week, whilst I was going through a lawsuit in the purchase that I was, my own actually family home, I was in the middle of that, so we was living in an Airbnb, had to take the dogs there, got kicked out within 24 hours or whatever it was, took the dogs there. I'm negotiating on 2 deals, leave through Property Finder, met him the day after in Emaar Beachfront where I was staying at the time. Check was given to me the day after, asking price. Told him and swore blindly to the guy, I can close this deal. Asking price, seller openly said, no problem, you get me that offer, we'll get it done, pay you 2%. That deal was worth 1.2 million dirhams. He then proceeded.
Where was this, Elysian?
This was Elysian. The same day he offered on another one, so 2 in total. Again, that was about 800k. So we're talking 2 million dirham commission there. Asking price offers on both. One says yes, no problem, let's get to the contract. 3-4 days later, we're still on contract terms. Can't get through to the seller. The POA is basically it was a money grab, in my opinion, is what the deal was. Whereby
POA's trying
to back pocket. Yep. I've give asking price. Everything was done, everything was agreed. Even the POA actually agreed to deal with me. So we're at contract stage, at Form F. I'm questioning, hang on, we've got the check, there's the Emirates ID, there's passports, everything's ready, proof of funds, KYC, whatever it may be. And it fell through. Same happened on the other one. The guy then went to Maldives, didn't really...
So this is all in what, a week or a month or just the start of the year?
So Palm Jebel Ali, 2 Elysians, and that was that. So again, all in all, I would say just shy of probably 3 million dirham commission this year, where it was, I would almost argue, 95, 96% done in most cases. Okay, the Palm Jebel Ali was waiting on allocation from a developer, but I think if anything, it does show you, like, and it's not to say, oh, I'm a sob story or anything like that. Not that, but
the amount of agents this stuff does happen to is why you're not sitting going like, I'm going home,
and that's
because you're told
because it does happen.
It happens constantly,
and that's where I think resilience comes into it. Because quite honestly, after that week, I was I couldn't understand the way back, because in my head, and because I'm so competitive, I was like, I need to do that figure. I need to walk in the office and I need to see my name on the board coming up, and I need it for myself, not for anyone else, or not for validation or gratification from other people or the claps or the thank yous. It was for my own self, because I wanted to kind of better my boundaries and surpass them. Anyway, it didn't happen, and then probably about a month ago, similarly signed booking form on a morass 16, 17 million villa, 4%. Didn't happen. So all in all, I would say I'm just shy of probably 4 million dirham commission lost this year alone, which obviously in English terms is near enough £750,000 or
800 grand.
It's tough. And I think, again, one thing that I can say to agents, you have to develop that thick skin. And it's taught me 4 years, and I'm still trying to figure out how thick my skin really is, because obviously when that happened over the course of probably that period of 4 weeks or 5 weeks, that could have been a 4 million dirham commission month on the board. And ultimately, I think it was like 100k. And that is real estate, because...
Question. So we had that tough... Have you found your way back? I know the answer, but, you know, the board's looking tastier.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, we're not sitting wallowing.
Yeah. Look, I'm not happy where I am, to be honest, but I'm sure other people who are sat on huge figures in the firm would also tell you the same. I think that's, in some ways, obviously credit to yourself, because we've built a firm on... I think it's so competitive, but also the billers and the people in the firm, it's at such a good standard of brokering that ultimately where I'm at right now, I would openly say is, one, not where I want to be, but also it's not even within the top 5 in the company. And I think 2 years ago you would have said, wow, that figure is absolutely amazing. But it's a testament to, obviously, one, where the company's at, one, the level of brokering that we have in-house, but also the market. I think the level of what used to be, I'd say 2 or 3 million dirham a year previously, in 3-4 years ago, was like fall off your share numbers. And I'm sure people have been here 10 years, you know, not to name drop. I was with Chris Boswell a couple of weeks back now, and again, I followed all the stuff. Again, someone who I kind of looked up to when I first came over, and someone definitely do look up to. And we had a chat, and it was almost like a father and son chat, where it was like, I've been here 10 years or however many years. But I still remember the small conversation that we had, and it was on the basis of, like, the numbers that we're doing now is crazy. And do I think it's sustainable? There's an argument to say no, but I can only see the market going up.
That's what it is for me as well. I can only see the market going up. So how do those figures go down? See, I always tell people, it's your podcast, so I won't say too much, but when I was a broker, everything was half the price it is now. So you do the same amount of work now, you make twice the amount of money.
1,000,000%.
And also, when I was a broker, it wasn't as normal to get fees from both sides. As companies have got better, ourselves, all SOPs, Better Homes, House and House, you name it, all the good guys, they've all started introducing and making sure that both sides are getting paid, because that's how we manage to collaborate in the market with other agencies. So I suppose now the prices are higher, the market's more regulated, the agents, I believe, are better. The ones that are at companies now, they're getting more training, they're getting more development, it's starting to run like a real market, and you're doing the same amount of work and getting paid twice as much.
Which is ideal for agents. And I think that's why obviously there is an increasing number of agents here, but there's obviously a reason why. And it's like anything in life, if something works out or something's successful, then it's like, again, I'm sure we wasn't the first real estate company in Dubai, but looking at our success, people are going to try and replicate, or people are going to try and follow in the footsteps of White & Co. And I'm sure there's people out there similar to myself who aspire to have the businesses that you have and what you've developed. So again, when you look at that as a whole, as for brokers, if a broker's earning, let's say, £1 million a year, of course, I know if I was 19 years of age at home and I seen a broker earning whatever it may be, £1 million a year, I would say, I want a slice of that, because, and I've seen people come here who are, and they probably know who they are: roofers, coaches, Jord, car salesman, me,
David O'Keefe,
David O'Keefe.
Cheese Factory.
There you go.
It's my favourite one.
And it's like, you come from that, and then all of a sudden you can be earning £1 million a year. And it doesn't mean, we're not having to go through any university degrees. We're not going to have to go through a system where, you have to educate yourself for 5-10 years to become something. Like, this is just pure who you are as a person, pure sales.
Yeah.
And I love
it's
that.
Exciting, eh? It's like, even you talking about it there, I'm like excited about it. I always talk about it to people. I say, we're not controlling, like, if you're an airline pilot, something bad happens, big problems. You're a doctor, something bad happens. In both those jobs, people die. In our job, we need to be as careful as we can. We need to do our due diligence. We need to make sure we keep everything as safe as possible. But no one's dying.
And that's it. And I think, look, like, my dad always reminds me of the fact that, okay, if I was a doctor in the UK, and let's say you're on 50% tax back, I would earn X. Now, I remember certainly for the first 2 years, he used to ring me up probably once a month and say,
how much money you made?
What have you earned this month? And then he'd go and tell his mates in work. And it's a nice feeling. And again, it's never been from a bragging point of view. My mum and dad have always kind of said it from a proud point of view. Because again, it's not really heard of in the likes of the UK or from backgrounds where I'm from, in obviously Liverpool. So
there's more and more Scousers here than any.
Honestly,
they're bloody flooding in.
We should probably create a new Emirates, to be fair, called Liverpool in the UAE. But yeah, it's a nice feeling, and I think speaking on the likes of David O'Keefe, it's always refreshing. Even 4 years, 5 years, I always wish anyone well who moves over, because I remember there was one time when I came here with absolutely £3,000, and not in a condescending way or anything else, because obviously, again, I've had to work for where I am now, but at the same time, it is daunting when you first move over. And so I've always said to anyone, I'm always open for a chat. Pull me in the office, message me on Instagram, and look, if I'm available, just tap me on the shoulder and let's have a chat, because it's music to my ears when we have a success story like David O'Keefe, because I look at people and I think, and again, my brother's just moved over, so I can't wait for him, and I know he's more than capable.
When that feeling comes.
Because I know I can kind of sit in the background and give him a clap of my own, because he's took the risk. And to anyone who has moved over, I doff my hat to anyone, because I think, you know what,
it's not easy.
Yeah, and we're all in the same pact here. We're all fighting for business and we're competitive, but realistically, we're all real estate agents. There's
enough for the pie to go around. And this is the thing. Too many people think that you're against everyone when you first move here, and it happens. Like, some companies even drum it into you. Yeah. But as far as I'm concerned, there's enough to go around.
Yeah.
So Joe, the job's not easy. You've now made some good money. What's your why? Because I think it's really important in Dubai.
So I think when I first moved over, it was all material, like, to be completely transparent. I mean, I know from a young lad it was watches, cars, whatever. I think for me now it's more so about longevity for a family. I look at it and I think, okay, if I can change my kids' lives or provide a good education, provide a good platform for my kids to be, own successful businesses, or, a big thing for me is obviously my mum and dad have ferried me around all my life, and they've been there for me all my life. Always an arm around me whenever I was in trouble, always. So I want to give back. So I want to make my mum and dad proud, make my family proud. I think, look, being from Liverpool, loyalty and family is a massive, massive thing. So I look at things, okay, I want to create a life that my family are going to be happy living, and I want to ultimately be free, in the sense I want to be able to take my family wherever we want and provide. And in the future, I would like to think in 10 years' time, if I can create Mac William Foundation and whatever it was, and look back at, some of the stuff that I went through in terms of my health and my wellness and coming out of football, and maybe not having the support network and that I once was, maybe giving an avenue to people, or providing something, or giving something back. So I think a big thing, look, yes, you can reach, and I probably realised more than anything, materials lasts. It's like a small sense of, or a quick dopamine fix. It's not a long-term fix. What really keeps you happy is if you are happy within yourself. And
fulfillment,
I think, the best word I could really use for it, because I think, look, giving back to people or providing or making people proud, and nothing makes me happier than to be able to go and treat someone, or to be able to give someone access. And, I've tried to do that as much as I can in my life. But I know for me, family is a massive thing, and that goes for everyone around me. That's friends and family. Again, if I can create a life or help someone's life in any way, and put them in a good trajectory, then absolutely, that's kind of what I want to do.
Brilliant. Okay, right. So from there, the selfish part then from me, and listen, this doesn't need to be long. I just want to know quickly. So you're Joe McWilliams, Talal Joe, good name in the market, makes a hell of a lot of cash, great guy to have in the company. Why are you still at White & Co, or why do you like being at White & Co?
I think, look, one, I mean, it's like anything. I always relate to football. If I'm a fantastic footballer, one of the world's best, I want to play for one of the world's best teams. Now, naturally, I'm biased because I'm a Liverpool fan, so I'd love to play for Liverpool. But in the relative terms, obviously, you want to be at the best brokerages. You want to be at the brokerages that, one, offer you the most, but two, give you the best support network. I think we've always been very open and honest. I'm very much entrepreneurial myself, so I have the freedom in the sense I've earned that freedom, but at the same time, I think we both understand that giving back to White, or even the commission split here is fantastic, and I think it's very much rewarding for where you are. I think in other companies I don't agree with, like some of them are doing crazy numbers and they're not rewarded for it, whereas we're completely different. We're very much rewarded for it. I think as well, naturally, there's a fantastic name in the market with White & Co. We've grown so big over a short period of time, but also that doesn't happen unless the services that we're offering and clients are happy. So it's like anything. If you own a McDonald's chain and no one likes the food, well, you're not going to be able to franchise it because there's no one going to be there. Yeah. But ultimately, we've created and trained the best brokers, and I do believe we have some of the best brokers in the market in White & Co. And so I'd be wrong if I said I didn't want to surround myself with the best people. That goes from yourself, brokers, even it could be admins, it could be service staff.
Got a good team.
Yeah, and again, even me, I'm blessed with a fantastic admin. I want to name drop Zella. Absolutely amazing. And so you guys contribute to her, the wage and everything else. And again, I'm thankful for that because quite honestly, she's absolutely amazing. And me and Jordan, who both share Zella's services, are very, very thankful for her services as well. So
she'll be chuffed to hear this.
Well, she should hear it because she's amazing. But I think stuff like that needs to be reminded because ultimately you guys create a good atmosphere for not only the brokers, but for the admins and for the people that work at White & Co as well. So hopefully that's nice to hear.
No, that was nice to hear, mate. It's nice. Obviously, I have to plug ourselves a little bit. But Joel, right, let's get on to some of the stuff. And this is unfortunately what people like hearing. And in the UK or in other places, it's very taboo to talk about money. In Dubai, especially in our office, the money's on the board. You can literally look at the board and tell what every single person has earned. And I like it that way because it creates winners. Like if you see people doing well, it either inspires you to do well, or if you see people doing well, it makes you go like, oh, I better do some deals because there's a lot flying up there. And we know what our board can be like. What kind of money is Joe McWilliam earning? And what's he doing with it?
I think starting on the second point, I invest 90% of my money. It's all property. I'm no stocks guru, I'm no crypto guru. I'd love to be, but I'm not. But I know what I'm doing with property. So again.
And how many properties have you bought in Dubai over the past 4 years?
So I'm on my 22nd at the moment.
What age are you?
23. So
23 years old. Well, one a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, look, that's obviously, again, the majority of that is through broker income, starting to make a lot more money with obviously investing in flips and whatever it may be, renovations. But at the same time, 80-90% of that income has come through brokering. So obviously going back to the former, again, I would say hopefully a good year is anywhere between 500 to 750,000, and that's dirhams. So that's pounds. So yeah. So that's again, if you're earning £500,000, £750,000 a year, take home.
I mean, at 23-year-old, it's not bad. At the end of the day. And the thing is, I know for you, it's always about aiming higher. And I know you earned those figures last year. So it's this year.
I'm not happy with it.
I know you're not. I know. Because we sit down and we go through this. And I just want to see you take it to the next level, which I'm sure you will. I'm not going to make you go too much down the route of anything else that you buy or anything else. Just one last question. What's your advice to anyone who is thinking about moving to Dubai? Whether that be real estate, whether that just be moving here, what's your advice?
Pack your bags, get on the plane. That's the best thing I did. And quite honestly, I don't regret it. I mean, there was times when for sure I'm thinking about packing my bags and get back on the plane. But to be honest with you, just take the risk. And I think sometimes in life, you can face up to the wall in front of you. But, I always look at things, okay, break down the wall and get past it. And I think, look, if you have that idea, just do it because you're only going to regret it if you don't. And that was the biggest thing that I kind of said to my mum and dad, because straight away they were against it. But I said, look, if I don't do it, I'm doing myself an injustice.
You're always going to wonder what if.
And I'm going to sit there thinking about it every night and what I can change and what I can do better. And even now, look, there's what ifs. I do measure myself on success, and I would like to think I want to be 10 times as successful as I am now. And that's what I aim and strive for. So again, for anyone back home, is how much do you want to how much you want to be successful. Again, we go back to the why. If you really do want to go and create that lifestyle for yourself, whether it be cars, people have different visions. People might want the materialism. I've kind of stepped away from that, or would like to think that. And I know my vision is ultimately family, and give back. But at the same time, for those who do want to be able to put themselves in any of those positions, you need to go and challenge yourself and come out your comfort zone. And I certainly did. And I do not for 1 minute regret getting on that plane and coming to Dubai.
Brilliant. Well, listen, I really appreciate today the transparency, the honesty. This is what we do it for.
Yeah.
Joe, I'll see you in the office, mate.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.